So if a child's already at a higher level, they know all their letters, then they're going to be doing things like this in the very beginning part of the year. I might write a follow-up sentence to the book that we read. I saw Mug the bug. And notice that there's Mug the bug, words that rhyme or that are very phonetic. They could be actually sounded out. So ug. And these are what we call high frequency words, which are just words that you basically have to memorize because you just need to know them really quickly. And the reason why we do high frequency words is because 50% of the English language is comprised of them. So if children can see them and automatically recognize them, then they've already got 50% of the words they're going to encounter in text. And so the other skill we need to show along with that is how to decode. And that's the part that's phonetic that you could actually try to sound out. So then the child just copies what was written, and this is what I had mentioned earlier where we start pasting them and putting them together as sentences, and then they start writing those sentences. So by a month or two into school, these children are already doing several pages where they're able to read and write them on their own. What else might you find in a slightly more emergent, what we call emergent reader? They might have a ring with high frequency words because they already know their letters. So if they already know their letters, then we move into what are the high frequency words that are expected of children at that developmental level. And if the child knows how to read them, then we just have the card. If they know how to read and write them, they can get a sticker in the back. And that's a way for you as a parent to know these are words they can read and they can write, and also for a way for the teacher to keep track. This is kind of the text that they'll be looking at. So for an emergent reader, this is the text that they would be getting. So Dad is digging, Dad is writing, Dad is painting. So what are the modes of instruction? So one way is what we mentioned already about the fine motor and gross motor. So having them write on a whiteboard and erase and write on a whiteboard. So we call it automaticity, developing that fluency in writing. So it might be a child that is having trouble with fine motor skills. So we'll say, okay, write cat really, really big. Now can you write it really, really small? Ooh, who can write it 3 times? So we make it into a game. And they don't realize they're really working on fine-tuning those skills. Or we'll do stuff like, this is the baking dish. They love this. So all of the letters of the alphabet will be there. Oh, we're going to make the word he. What do you hear in the beginning? He. Oh no, it got all mixed up. Who can make it say he again? And so we'll walk around and, oh, they love it. Oh, okay, that one goes first. So just presenting it through different modes for the kinesthetic child who needs to just see it and touch it. Then you're approaching it in that way. Another thing that we do a lot of is bringing in, like the kids can bring in from home or little McDonald's toys or whatever. Oh, we're working on apple, Can you think of a tiny little thing you can bring in from home that has apple? And they come in and they talk about, today I brought, and we'll hold it into a little baggie. You can even put across the room all the baggies over time. You can do it in sandwich bags. And you have all the letters of the alphabet with concrete little toys, things they can relate to, and begin initial sounds. Once everyone's mastered initial sounds, then we'll say, well, everybody knows that, how it begins. So now let's do final sounds. Can you take all the toys out of the bag? And what does it end with? Ooh, so cat. Well, I'm going to put in a different baggie now because I hear cat with the T at the end. So which one is t? Now I'll put it in that one. So you're always adding a little bit more gradient, but bringing in just different modes often is what allows a child to get it. Letting them cut and paste. Sometimes that's just what's going to allow them to get it. So presenting it in different modalities. Okay, so that sort of sums up what that whole session would look like when the teacher's working with the children. And so what you might ask yourself is, well, what are the rest of the kids doing? And so the rest of the kids could be doing stations, could be turning in stations. And then there's always this expectation that when you're done with your work, boys and girls, you can always read to self. And what would that look like? So we do a lesson on, well, what are the students doing when we're reading to self, and what is the teacher doing when we're reading to self? And we're being really, really explicit so they know exactly what the expectations are. So we're either reading to self by looking at books with pictures. Maybe we're actually reading the words. Maybe we're retelling the story, like the first part, this happens, then this happens, at the end this happens. We're reading silently, and this is a really important one. We sit in our bubble space. So bubble space is that you have a bubble around you so that everyone has their space to be able to read. Now, there's another lesson we do where it's read to someone. So they can read to someone. That's sort of a little bit later in the year. But we always begin with reading to self so they understand that some children, when they read, they just want their bubble space. They don't want anyone touching them. They don't want anyone getting their books. They just want their bubble space. So we go into that. And sometimes the teacher helps pick the bubble space, right? Because they would do a little better without sitting next to certain children. Then we work on stamina. And yes, I even teach little tiny kindergartners the word stamina. And I just tell them, boys and girls, it's like building your muscles for reading. So when we first start doing our read to self, I'm going to put a timer. And we're going to see, can we do it for 1 minute? Do you guys think we could do it for 1 minute? Okay, let's try. And we'll put the timer on. And we go over, these are the expectations. This is what I want to see for that time. And the first time, within 30 seconds, someone starts lifting up and moving or whatever. And we know that's going to happen. We say, oh, okay, today we only did 30 seconds. We're going to try it again tomorrow or later on in the day and see how long we can do it. And we start putting it up on a grid. So not only are we teaching graphing, math skills, right? We're teaching self-regulation, which is a really important skill at this age. But we're also setting goals, because then we tell the kids, what's your goal? How long do you think you can sit and be reading a book? Oh, I think we could do it 5 minutes. Okay, so usually we start with something really easy like 5 minutes. By the end of kindergarten, kids are doing it 15, 20 minutes, reading to self. Because they know I can read pictures, I can retell the story, or I can read the words. And they can they have their book boxes with them, so there's lots of books they can choose from. So it's not like they're just stuck with one book. And this really allows the child to have that self-regulation and develops the love of reading. Because they have the autonomy of picking whatever book I want, I have my bubble space, it's not just worksheet driven, everyone doing the same thing at the same time. So that's the stamina chart.